had to be careful not to be blown off the chairs. Bob obtained his real estate license in 1966 and opened Bob Bell Realty in 1968. And Bob was a prominent realtor in Villa Park for many years and actively retains his brokerage license. The Bells moved to Villa Park from Orange Park Acres in 1974 and are now 3 children, Scott, Chris, and Mindy. Chris played baseball and football at Villa Park High School. On moving to Villa Park, Karen became active in the Villa Park Women's League and practiced interior and landscape design. Bob Bell has the distinction of being Villa Park's longest-serving councilman, first elected in 1990 and serving through 2006. This included 3 terms as mayor. Bob noted that Villa Park was largely built out and the council was dealing with the same challenges as our current council, including maintaining our low-density housing. While on council, Bob represented Villa Park on the Orange County Sanitation District, Local Agency Formation Commission, and the Orange County Fire Authority. Bob is especially proud that all 3 of his children are college graduates. Mindy graduated from the University of the Pacific, Scott from Fresno State, and Chris from Cal State Fullerton. Karen passed in 1992. In 2000, Bob married Charlotte Ferry, who was active in the Library of Republican Women. Bob and Charlotte traveled extensively before her passing in 2009. Bob attributes his good health to good genes. He has sisters that are 90 and 96, making a point to walk a mile daily. He continues to enjoy family, especially his 5-year-old granddaughter, friends traveling to the library, participating as a member of the Fields of the Friends of the Villa Park Library, Angels Baseball, and of course, residing in Villa Park. Bob, I'll be honored if you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right. You want to please stand? Hand over your heart, face the flag, and say with me, I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll now come down and have our distinguished citizen.
Mr. Bill.
Oh, in the bio. Hold on. One more. I'm here, so let's do this. Got it.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I would like to ask all those in the audience to please silence your cell phones and turn them off if possible. Villa Park City Council and staff welcome you to this meeting and encourage your participation. If you wish to address the City Council, please complete and submit a speaker card to the City Clerk before the scheduled meeting time. Speaker cards can be found at the entrance to the City Council chambers. And speakers will be limited to a time period of 5 minutes. Begin with presentations. Our attorney report out any reportable action from the closed session held earlier this evening.
Yes, Mayor, we did have one item under significant exposure to litigation. We discussed it, and there's no reportable action. That is all.
Okay, we'll now begin with our presentations. This presentation is the Walk to School Day presentation by Councilman Casanova.
Welcome, everyone. Walk to School Day is an international day that started in 1997, 1998. And it was started to show everyone that there's a safe path to walk to school. It's turned into a city-oriented event to a global event. Villa Park Elementary and Serrano Elementary participate every year in October. Villa Park Elementary has gone one step further in the last 7 years under the leadership of one of our residents as well as our parent over there, Kim Barstow, which elementary, as well as the participation of a coloring contest. But the upper grades have a different kind of a contest. They get to actually draw their artwork and illustrate it. The winners of each of the classes get a poster made out of it. And on the day of Walk to School, they walk in groups, and they walk with a very large poster, and oh, okay. They walk to school with their posters, and then at the end, what they do is they actually hang them on the fences of Villa Park Elementary. And those of you who have passed over the last 7 years should have seen it, because they left them up until the new bell came in for years, and you would see these beautiful posters. So what we're doing today is first thanking him for being the chair of that and bringing that to our attention, as well as we're going to bring the winners of each of the classes up here and provide them with a certificate and share their posters that they have. I've had the honor of doing this 7 years over at that school. I played crossing guard on Center and Villa Park Road, and it is a big feat because those cars are going fast, and it's dangerous, but we have great kids, and they look both ways. And I'm going to start by having Kylie Mathis come up with her poster. And Kylie, is Kylie here?
She is unable to session.
Okay, all right. Well, Kylie Mathis is in 2nd grade, and she is one of our winners. I have Darla Flynn, who's in 3rd grade. Hey, Darla, you want to come up here? And we're going to hold, come up here, and I want you to hold it up high so everyone can see this. Look at that. Okay, so they walk to school with all these, and everyone sees you. So let's go ahead. I want you to stay up here. Who do we have next? Emma Johnson? And Emma, what grade is Emma in? First. All right, hold it up high so people can see. Isbal Ahmed? And what grade are you in? It's 6th grade. Now, did you, 6th grade, you illustrated yours, correct? Okay, so come on up. Okay, and we have Jordan. Andre?
I'm representing Jordy.
There you go, come on
She's
up.
at the mother-daughter tea at the elementary school right now.
So Jordan's in 5th grade.
She designed her own as well.
Wonderful. And Brianna Tulwa? 2, 3, 4, there you go. And you designed yours as well. So it shows you the talent that they have.
That's cool.
And I'd like to personally thank you for walking to school and for participating all these years. And Kim, thank you for being a member of the community who's given back so much.
How much?
All right. And I've got certificates from the city for each one of you. All right, and what you're going to get from us is this. It's a certificate of recognition for your outstanding artwork and participation for Walk to School Day. Okay?
Everybody look over here. One more, just for the heck of it. Smile, smile, smile.
Very good.
Oh, sorry. One more. Thank you.
Thank you. That's cool.
Okay, thank you.
You did some good job.
All right.
Okay, our next presentation will be from the report by the Orange County Sheriff's Department.
Lock your cars.
Good evening, members of the council. I have the September 2018 crime report for the Sheriff's Department. Actually, crime was low in the month of September, which is good. We had 1 grand theft and 2 petty thefts, which were all from unlocked vehicles that were parked in driveways of houses. No major loss from any of those things, just some sunglasses and backpacks. So that's actually pretty good, much better than has been in the past. We've had several larger thefts and residential burglaries, so those are all down this month, which is excellent. We also had an item of significance where the victim of fraud received a phone call from somebody pretending to be an LAPD officer. that claimed the victim's grandson had been arrested and they needed $7,000 for bail. And they actually FedExed the $7,000, but the sheriff's department was notified and was able to put a stop on that delivery, which is good. So if anybody's ever asking, for anybody that's here in the audience, if anybody's ever asking for money, gift cards, things like that for bail, that is most likely a fraudulent situation. So if you're ever in any doubt, please contact the sheriff's department. We can come out and straighten it all out for you. We also had an elderly resident who was suffering from Alzheimer's that went missing with the family dog for several hours. During the search, one of the deputies found them in good health, and paramedics were not needed. The resident and the dog were reunited with their family, so that ended up really well as well. There was a little bit of an uptick in some traffic accidents around the city. We had about 8 throughout the month of September, which is a little bit higher than normal. There were a total of 380 calls for service in the city of Villa Park, 19 traffic citations, and 11 parking citations. Hopefully we can start doing a little bit higher visibility traffic enforcement so that maybe we can mitigate some of these traffic collisions. On a side note, I know the city manager, Steve, had sent us some information regarding there was a couple of concerned citizens about a 3-way stop sign on Vita and Montana, where there had been there's an elderly gentleman with Parkinson's that lives over there, and his caregiver were having some issues with speeding cars, running stop signs, etc. Our SRO actually was up there a couple of days this week. Did not find any of the activity that was reported as far as speeding cars or stop signs running, most likely because he was in that area. But one of the things that I noted from that was the caregiver had made mention that there were cars speeding past her while she was walking the dogs. And as you all probably know and very familiar with this area, there are no sidewalks in that area, so residents are actually sharing the street with vehicles. And I don't know if there are any speeding vehicles around, but the perception might be that they're going a little bit faster because they're not separated by that sidewalk. So anyway, we'll keep up our patrols of that area to make sure that that's not a continuing problem. And as we haven't found it to be so far, so we're hoping it continues. And that concludes my report. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Are there any questions?
I just have a comment. I actually live there, and I walk my father with his walker, daily, and there isn't an issue with walking on the street. Occasionally, you have somebody who speeds, but there isn't. I wouldn't say that there isn't. And I have pushed a wheelchair down there constantly, and my parents are elderly. We don't, and my kids walk there, and I walk there. So.
Well, these are issues that just get brought up by
you
some
do
citizens
occasionally have
that
a
send them
speeding
to
car, but no
Steve.
different.
He sends them to us, and we take care of it. I just wanted to inform you that we're on top of it. But that was more for Steve than really for anything else. Okay.
One last thing, lock the cars.
Yeah.
Cars.
Lock the cars. I bring
the
it up
cars.
every month.
Then they'll go over into Orange or something, and that's fine.
Yeah, let it go over there.
Thank you. Our next presentation is an update from the Orange County Fire Authority.
Good evening. Steve Hurdle with representing Battalion 3 for Villa Park. This last 30 days, not much of an uptake in calls at all. Thank God there was no fires reported in the city for the last 30 days. I'd like to remind residents of 2 things. We've got Halloween coming up. We've got a lot of our youth in costumes. Please go over, stop, drop, and roll in case there's any type of fires associated with the costumes. And then November 4th, we have our time change coming up. So with that, I'd like to point people to ocfa.org, our website. We've got our 1-minute PSA for install, inspect, and protect our smoke alarms for our homes. Very, very important. And please remember to test them once a month. Replace the batteries at the time changes, and it'll protect your homes, protect your lives. Any questions?
Questions?
Just a comment to tag on to what you said earlier about the little ones out trick-or-treating. We need all be mindful of them as we're out driving as well. You know, it gets dark early around here, and it's hard to see them sometimes, so I just be careful with how we drive through the city. Look out for the little ones.
Reflective gear, flashlights, an abundance of supervision, always good things.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone here today from the Orange Unified School District for a report? Okay. How about the Villa Park Library? Okay, I know they're still recruiting a new librarian. Okay, we'll now move into council member meeting attendance reports, and the first is the Orange County Mosquito and Vector Control District.
That would be me. Fortunately, there's been no mosquitoes that tested positive for West Nile virus in Villa Park since the one we had on July 26, 2018. But countywide, there was been 8 people infected by West Nile virus. This is down from 39 last year, which is a significant decrease. And last year, there were 4 deaths from West Nile virus, and this year has been only 1 death associated with West Nile virus infection throughout the county. The case is an elderly female resident of Tustin who died with West Nile virus infection complications. The district reminds you that it's especially important to take precautions against mosquito bites during West Nile virus season. Recommended precautions include emptying all standing water on your property to reduce areas in which mosquitoes may breed, including flower pots and pet bowls. Make sure your window and door screens are in good condition. Use insect repellents containing DEET, oil of lemon eucalyptus, products containing IR3535. Limiting outdoor activity at dawn and dusk when mosquitoes are most active, and wearing long sleeve shirts and long pants when outdoors. That concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Next is the Orange County Sanitation District, and I represented the city at the Orange County Sanitation District Board meeting on September 26th. Beyond the normal routine operation and maintenance items, the most noteworthy issue before the board is the development of a new administration building. And the board approved the motion that Councilman Scott Piotr from Newport Beach and I proposed to establish the headquarters complex ad hoc committee to oversee this $180 million project. This committee met on October 17th and reviewed the project justification, the evolution of this project over the past 3 years, and the current proposal. Our concern is that we want to make sure that this is definitely something that's justifiable and that it's going to be meeting the needs of the district in the future. Next is the Orange County Fire Authority.
Good evening. On September 27th, I represented our city on the board of directors at the Orange County Fire Authority. And it was a relatively short meeting, thankfully, compared to earlier this year when more controversial issues were going on. But 2 matters of note that I want to bring to your attention. That during the chief's report, actually 3 things. During the chief's report, he continued to comment and study the effects and challenges that were faced during the Canyon Fire 2. This is not something that the agency, the authority has forgotten. This is not something that they're sweeping under the rug. This is something they are critically analyzing to see how it could be handled better in the future. The positive takeaways as well as the negative, the things that they can improve upon. The other thing he mentioned, and perhaps it's not necessarily germane to the Fire Authority, but it should be germane to each and every one of us. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I've lost a very, very significant relative, my mother-in-law, 4 years ago to breast cancer, and I want to encourage everybody to get themselves checked, male, female, encourage your spouses, your friends, and your loved ones, and I want to thank the chief for specifically bringing that up. We had a disruption of 911 call transfers at the Orange County Fire Authority. It was very, very brief, but very, very troubling to the chief, the command staff, as well as obviously our telecommunication personnel. As of the date of the meeting, the cause of the disruption, though momentary, was being analyzed, and came down to potentially three things: phone lines, computer servers, and or a compatibility issue. I fully expect the matter to be assessed and addressed and never to occur again. Other events, that's really about it for now. Thank you. Any questions?
Okay. Orange County Library Advisory Board.
No meeting.
Okay. Budget and Finance.
No meeting.
City Schools Advisory.
Yes, we had a meeting, and it was attended by all the OUSD personnel, the PFSOs and PTA presidents, as well as the Sheriff Department. We discussed quite a few issues, one of them including a small accident that did occur on Serrano, which happened because of an illegal U-turn. There were minor injuries to two of the passengers, but they were minor, and the cars had some injuries on there too, but we discussed whether or not there was anything that could have been done to not have that accident occur, and the answer was the person making the illegal U-turn shouldn't have done it. So that was discussed, and it was wonderful because that issue had been something that has been discussed in the last several weeks and prior to that, but we didn't have anybody in the public come to that meeting. So if anybody wants to know exactly what happened at that accident, we do have that meeting on audio. It is on the website. And we don't take written minutes, but you can listen to the entire meeting on there to let you know what went on regarding that. In addition, I want to make note that we have several students here from Orange Lutheran High School. They're here for their AP government class, from what I understand. Yeah, we got some. So we must have, I think, almost about a dozen kids back here taking notes. And believe me, it'll be a fascinating meeting, guys. It gets better. So thank you for coming, and that's great. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Community Development.
I wanted to give the council a heads up tonight that over the course of the next couple of months, there's going to be a lot of activity that coming through our engineering department that I want to make you aware of as chairman of that group. I will forward out an email that Steve put together for me to the council to start previewing and looking at some of the activity that's coming up. We've got quite a few CUPs that'll come before the CDC and also potentially in front of the council over the next 30 to 90 days. So I'm just giving you a heads up, awful lot of activity coming through the building department, also engineering. So just want to give you that heads up.
Good, thank you. Friends of the Villa Park Library. The Friends of the Villa Park Library held a Meet the Author fundraiser on September 22nd. And this fundraiser featured Villa Park's own Bob Connell and his discussion of his recently published book, The Hindsight Project. The event was extremely successful. Attendance was sold out, and everyone enjoyed Bob's presentation. It was really a treat to attend that. Human Resources?
And I spent a lot of money.
No meeting.
Okay. Infrastructure Management Advisory Committee. The Infrastructure Management Advisory Committee met on October 18th, and the key agenda item that was discussed was the parameters for inclusion in a pavement management plan, including development of a pavement condition index goals and preventive maintenance to try to reduce our long-term maintenance costs. Investment Advisory.
The Investment Advisory Committee met last week, and we reviewed the investment activity, transactions, and cash balances of the city. And we evaluated a 3-year ladder investment versus a 5-year ladder investment, and the committee decided to continue with the 5-year ladder of investments. The committee also reviewed and revised investment policy statement for the city's Section 115 trust investments. And the final policy statement will be presented to the council for approval in the near future. That concludes my report. Is there any questions?
Okay, thank you. Law Enforcement Advisory.
No meeting.
Public Safety.
There was supposed to be a meeting scheduled today, but unfortunately there were some conflicts either with staff or another council member, to my surprise. But we will hopefully have this meeting either Thursday or Monday of the upcoming week, sooner rather than later.
Okay. Public Works and Engineering, we had a meeting scheduled, but we ended up having to cancel it as we had not provided notice. So we'll try to reschedule that meeting. And finally, Villa Park Community Services.
Well, a lot of things going on recently. We had a appreciation event about a week ago And I'd like to recognize our Volunteer of the Year for all that she does for the foundation, for the city, and for everyone. Kay, would you please stand up and be recognized? I can remember coming into council, and being appointed to the foundation and working with you on several initiatives, and I want to thank you for all that you do for this city. Secondly, Halloween Fest is Saturday night, 4 to 7:30. Looking forward to seeing all of you there. A lot of events planned. We have, I think, between 11 and 15 vendors that have agreed to come and bring things to share with everyone. I'll be cooking hot dogs. So come enjoy our hot dogs at the Rotary booth, along with some of our great Rotarians. And then I think that's it.
Thank you. And Mayor Pro Tem Rossini has one other item to share.
Pardon, I forgot to mention this earlier, but Villa Park is going to be putting on emergency preparedness training on Saturday, November 3rd. It is a two-part training session. The second one will be on November 17th, and residents are encouraged to sign up for disaster preparedness training. It's no cost to the residents. The Orange County Fire Authority is going to be putting on a wonderful class teaching residents how to better prepare themselves in case of natural disaster or man-made disaster, God forbid. They will be discussing preparedness tips, tools, techniques, medical operations that are rudimentary first aid in nature, and overall fire safety. If you want to find out more information, please contact our city and provide us with your name. This is an RSVP sign up only, so you have to let us know. And slots are filling up fast. I know there are several friends and residents in this room that have decided to take advantage of this opportunity, and look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time we'll move into public comments. At this time, members of the public may address the council on any off-agenda items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council, provided that no action may be taken on off-agenda items unless authorized by law. Opportunities will also be provided for public comment on each agenda item as it comes up. Comments are limited to 5 minutes per person and 30 minutes for all comments. And I understand that our city attorney has some additional clarification.
Right, well, just over the past couple of meetings, we've had some pretty hot speakers who I think have probably crossed the line as far as proper decorum at council meetings. So you're definitely allowed to talk about anything that the council's doing. You're definitely allowed to criticize the actions of the council. You're allowed to criticize council members, but let's not get into personal attacks or attacks on people's families. That's a bridge too far. And then also, because we're in election season, you're definitely allowed to talk about political issues, but don't stand up there and say, vote for this person or vote for that person. This is a public forum. It's not a private campaign stop. So let's try to stop that. So that's all.
Okay. We now have speakers.
Yeah, we have a number of speakers. We'll take them in the order received. Mr. Jim Reichert is first from Valley Drive.
Jim Reichert, 18721 Valley Drive, and I'm a former city councilman. I was looking at the years of that. It's 40 years ago, so that's been quite a long time. Seeing this is a political season, that this council has been a puzzlement to me. And Mr. Mayor, I mean, I just can't believe some of the things that's going on, and especially this hit piece that was sent out on Councilwoman Fasanelli. Hit pieces like this are not the way for Villa Park, our hidden jewel, and it should not be the way, and it never should be the way. And in like 40 years, I've been kind of watching what's going on, and I don't know if there's a new low or what. These are the kind of politics that you see in large cities and in Washington, D.C. And this should not take place in Villa Park. And Mr. Mayor, if this is your vision of Villa Park, I mean, you're wrong. I mean, it's actions like this are just not right. Obviously, I'm not a fan of yours, and I've had issues with Councilwoman Fasenelli too. But however, with elections coming up, you know, I've been kind of waiting, looking forward to see the voters to make their wishes known. And I think that's the way it should be done. But then, however, like, you know, boom, you know, a big time hit piece comes out. No working together at the city council, trash politics, and bring us down into the swamp. And we shouldn't have to be there. I mean, not the hidden jewel. And it's kind of, I kind of wonder, you know, how far you would go to get reelected. And I guess now we know. It's not pleasant. And you don't seem to care about the community. It's all about you and your cronies. I mean, you started the election fiasco in the first place by apparently forgetting to, when you needed to file your reelection papers. And this process is flawed, and you narrowly escaped disqualification on a technicality. And this opened up a question for a review. And the lawsuit was not all frivolous, and actually I wish it could have been handled a little bit differently, but it wasn't. But your response with a political hit piece, I think, was out of place. It's not what this community is. And I thought it was really quite childish, the whole thing. You talked about, you know, chaos, discord, and dysfunction at the city council. And boy, I mean, looking at that, that's really what you have entered into here. I know you don't deserve to represent the city. You don't deserve to be reelected. I think the city must not pull itself out of the swamp. And we have to fight to get our hidden jewel back. And we have to all, you know, work together to get this done. Mr. Mayor, I'm really disgusted by your actions.
Mr. City
And
Attorney.
you, sir,
City Attorney,
should be
I
ashamed.
think we're going into personal attacks.
I mean-
and
No, this is all okay. I mean, personal attacks is something we saw a couple weeks ago where,
We all got the point, though.
well, he can say this type of stuff, but
Don't stifle someone's comments.
He just did.
Okay.
He just did. He walked away.
Okay,
Good job, Mayor.
next speaker.
Kathy Moran. I'm sorry, Kathleen Moran, I didn't. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm going to be here on a political thing also, but from maybe a little different perspective. I think your attorney, first of all, is way too restrictive about what you can say here. From my understanding of working for the county, speech is much more broad than he put out to us tonight. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not arguing that point. My point is this, in our city and our council, is I'm here because I became aware of two things over the last week. Number one, the hit piece on the councilwoman, and also on the removal of political signs and the interaction on both people involved in this. From my perspective, what is most egregious and what I want the people of Villa Park to start to look at is the removal of signs, is the removal of anybody's First Amendment right. I've been politically involved for years. Whether you like it or not, a political sign is somebody's First Amendment right to speak. And nobody has the right to remove them. And I've been here for many years, probably close to 40 years. And first of all, the gentleman that spoke before me, I don't know where he was over the last 40 years in Villa Park. This is not a new swamp, people, to begin with. In the 90s, we had anonymous hit pieces being sent out and delivered to all of our mails that destroyed a political candidate at the time. In 2006, we also had signs being taken down, and that was a big deal. This is not a new thing in Villa Park. I want, especially for the young people here, but hopefully the older people too, that they understand that a political sign on my yard is my First Amendment right to speak on who I do. I can't stand out there and speak all the time. And for anybody, and I know it and I understand it, I've been in a lot of political campaigns. Sometime, you know, there's not a directive to do it, and sometime it's supporters that feel that that's an okay thing to do. I would like the second reason I came here, my big one is the signs and the taking of signs and what it does to our country and our young people not to understand what you're doing when you're doing stuff like this. But secondly, because I did also hear about the hit piece, I didn't receive one. I understand they came out to absentee voters, and I'm not one. But I have since seen it. And also, Councilwoman Fasanelli has responded to it on her Facebook page. And she has written on her Facebook page that the sheriff came to her house and accused Mr. Collicott of sending him there and accusing her or her supporters of removing his signs. I have no idea whether this is true or not as far as who removed the signs. It could have been the other two candidates. I'm sure it was not he himself, but it was probably supporters of one of the other three candidates. And I know Mrs. Fasanelli did write on her Facebook that she or her family did not remove the signs. I assume that's a true statement. But she did not put out there whether her supporters, and she knew that her supporters supported it, which is to me lying by omission by putting stuff out like that. I would just like two things to do. I would like Councilwoman Fasanelli to address the city on number one, whether the truthfulness of the police coming to her home is true on the Facebook page that she did, because I have information now in which the sheriff's department says this never happened. And I know that there's sometime an explanation that I'm not aware of. I don't know the date she put it on. I don't know whether the date that it was done was the same. But I'd like to know those two questions from her, whether or not that's whether that is true, or if there's a better explanation for it. Because if it's not, I would say her remedy should be that she should just put another post on Facebook and explain what happened. And I would like that.
So just, we're close to 5 minutes right here, so I just
okay.
need to-
And that's all I want. I just like those two things, you know, I'd like to know those two answers, whether or not your supporters did it, and to please at least explain to them why there's some of us that are First Amendment people would appreciate them not doing it in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Okay, Brenda, I apologize, Lebsack, I hope I pronounced it correctly. Oh, good. Oh, that's what it is.
Greetings, Mayor Collicott and Villa Park City Council. My name is Brenda Lebsack, and I'm a trustee for Orange Unified School District, and I'm here to represent myself. Some of you may know that in May 2018, many people came from the community and attended our board meetings expressing concerns about the new sex ed curriculum we were going to pilot with our 7th and 8th graders. This curriculum, Teen Talk, is the top recommended choice by California Department of Education representatives and endorsed by the ACLU as being compliant to the law AB 329, also known as the California Healthy Youth Act. Diverse people groups came out to oppose this curriculum: Muslims, Catholics, Protestants, Mormons of varied ethnic backgrounds, Hispanics, whites, Asians, Samoans, Romanians, Middle Easterners. Disapproval was expressed about pansexuality, asexuality, the queer umbrella, explicit sexual acts, and one view taught as fact on sexual orientations and gender identities. Direct quotes from the curriculum were addressed as such. Page 86, pan means any or all. Someone who is pansexual might find themselves attracted to men, women, non-binary people, trans people, genderqueer people, and many more, exclamation point. And the exclamation point is in the text. Page 84, the genderqueer umbrella. Genderspectrum.org was noted for definitions. A child may have a non-binary gender identity, meaning they do not identify as a boy or girl. They could identify as both, or neither, or as another gender entirely. Youth no longer feel bound to one of the two genders, but are instead establishing a growing vocabulary for gender. Page 162, low risk in getting HIV. Protected oral sex on anus. Orange Unified removed this page out of its revised version. A Chalk Hospital pediatrician also attended our meeting and stated, quote, in reviewing Teen Talk, students are not being told medically accurate information or statistics regarding the effectiveness of condoms use in anal sex. They are not being told the truth that anal sex is the highest risk behavior for transmission of HIV and other STDs, especially since condoms are not FDA approved for anal sex. Due to the strong community opposition displayed on May 24th, Trustee Ledesma wisely requested an emergency meeting for May 30th to discuss a resolution. On May 30th, after an hour plus of more community speeches and input, the board halted the implementation of Teen Talk with a 6-1 vote. The only trustee who voted to move forward with the curriculum for our 7th graders was Kathy Moffitt. As you choose your endorsements for Orange Unified School Board, I hope you will consider candidates who best represent the values and sentiments of your community and who best reflect your own values for educating our children. I provided for you today a file of documents. Some I gave to you, which was the article from the Orange County Register. Also is the outline of the revision for Teen Talk by OUSD, and also Xerox pages from Teen Talk so you can see the quotes yourself. I also provided a file document here that has, the quotes from the California Healthy Framework draft for 2019 that have passed in May 2019 by the California Department of Education will be integrated into our school curriculum and textbooks. I included an article from Educator Today describing the gender spectrum and a book recommended to parents by the California Department of Ed describing the many genders to children from ages preschool through 3rd grade. Lastly, you will find quotes from the California Safe School website that answers questions about this law as it relates to parental rights. And if you would like further documentation about these new laws and curriculum, please do not hesitate to reach out. My card is included on your file. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Jenna Yee.
Hi. Greetings, Mayor Colacott and City Council members. My name is Jenna Yee. As elected officials, can you please stand for our values in spite of contradicting state mandates, help secure parents' rights, and support school board members who do the same? I'm going to read a few pages of a book that the California Department of Education has suggested to parents for children in grades preschool through 3rd grade in the 2019 framework. It's titled, Who Are You? So it's this book. It reads, when babies are born, people ask, is it a boy or a girl? Babies can't talk, so grown-ups make a guess by looking at their bodies. Some people say there are only 2 genders, but there are really many genders. And for some people, there are more than just 2 choices. These are just a few words people use: trans, genderqueer, non-binary, gender fluid, transgender, gender neutral, agender, new choice, bigender, third gender, two-spirit, and there are even more words people are using to describe their experience. This is called the gender spectrum. AB 329 says gender identity and sexual orientations can be taught in all grades as long as it is age appropriate. This book is what the California Department of Education considers age appropriate for preschool to 3rd grade. Under the California State School website, which is endorsed by the ACLU and California Teachers Union, there is a question-answer tab. It reads, question, do parents have a constitutional right to prevent their children from receiving education in public schools on subjects they disapprove? Answer, almost never. Parents do not have veto power over the content of public school instruction. If parents choose to place their children in public schools, parental rights are overweighted by the state's interest in educating students. Question, do parents have the right to notice about and to opt their children out of diversity education programs that include discussion of sexual orientation or other controversial topics? Answer, no. State law says instruction or materials that discuss gender, sexual orientation, and do not discuss human reproductive organs is not subject to the parental notice and opt-out laws, California Education Code 51932B. My kids are in public school here. I teach them to respect all people, but I do not think the gender spectrum should be taught to kids in any grade. Will local elected officials push back and create policies that protect our rights as parents? Will you endorse school trustees who will do the same? I came to America from Korea for more freedom, not for more oppression. Thank you.
Thank you.
Diana Waltermeyer Alba, sorry.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Diana Waltermeyer Alba. As a proud parent and single parent of a child that goes to Villa Park High School, Sarah Villa, and Serrano Elementary, I am concerned about the law AB 329, the California Youth Act. As City Council members, you oversee the best interest of our community. Our children are the future. This new law requires teachings about gender that most Hispanics and parents in general do not agree with. I teach my kids that God loves them and has created each person for a purpose. So it's assumed that God created their gender. I never thought to tell them that. However, now the state wants schools to teach children that they can choose or explore their gender and that there are many genders. I am grateful Orange Unified stopped this curriculum for 7th graders, but I am concerned these teachings can still come since they are endorsed by the California Department of Education. I have always believed gender is based on biology, but the new term is sex assigned at birth. I ask, who assigned this sex? It sounds like sex is random assignment given by the doctor. The term should say sex assigned by God. Even the Declaration of Independence acknowledges this. It says we hold these truths to be self-evident, that we've been endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. Our founding fathers knew our rights came from the Creator. They were referring to the Creator from the book of Genesis in the Bible, which says He created the male and female. Public school is supposed to level the playing field and increase equity. However, when public schools radically remove the moral authority of parents and challenge core religious and cultural values, how is this equitable? Catholic and Protestants, parents do not expect religion to be taught in public schools. but that does not mean our values should be trampled and disregarded. High socioeconomic families can afford private schools that do not assault their values. However, lower socioeconomic children are forced to be taught ideologies that parents do not agree with. Impoverished, minority, and middle-class families are being taken advantage of. This is a social injustice. We want representatives in our community who will impartially fight for parent rights and stand up for our values, no matter if they are rich, poor, or somewhere in between. Parents know what's best for their children, not the government. I appreciate for you letting me speak tonight.
Thank you.
That's all the public speaker requests we had.
I have one I'd like to speak in public comment. There was one speaker tonight that talked about the recent flyer that was sent out that was uncivil. Well, the truth is never uncivil. Everything in the flyer is truth. It was taken from the website villapark.co from the headline that says Villa Park Council member sues the city, and the quote, why using appropriate taxpayer dollars to resolve matters deemed best decision for the Villa Park. It was also from the Villa Park Council meeting on December 15, 2015, on the video of the meeting at our 48-minute interval, where Fasadella admits having a husband hire a private investigator to investigate a city council member. And from the Orange County Superior Court records, the filing of the suit and the judge's decision to deny the petition on all accounts, saying it would be the tail wagging the dog. Now, I hired the designer and the mailer for this flyer and paid most of the cost. Bob allowed me to use his campaign ID for the mailing since I did not have one. I thought this was important information for residents to know before the election that one of the council members filed a frivolous lawsuit against a city that wasted taxpayers' money. I see nothing uncivil about providing this information to voters. Thank you.
Nice way to go out, Bob. Bill. Nice way to go out. Right on a bang. Stir up.
The truth is always
No, it's not.
appropriate. Tell me if there's anything that's untruthful about the flyer. You can, because you know it's true.
No, I don't know it's true or false. I'm not involved in it. But I just think
guess you
that's
can't
kind
read
of,
court documents
it goes against the values of our community to be putting out things like that. It's wrong.
We just heard one speaker say going back to the 80s and 90s, you had stuff going on
Like I said, go out with a bang. I don't remember your entrance being a bang, but that's here there.
So, Mayor, we have no other speakers, but
let's order, please.
if you would want to, you
Pardon?
might open it up to the audience if there's anyone else that wants to speak. I've received no other speaker requests.
Okay. Okay. I have one item I'd like to address, and that's pretty much taking on to what Kathy Moran brought up. Following is the text that Councilwoman Fasanelli posted on our Facebook site alleging that a sheriff deputy had stated that I had sent him to her home and to ask if she had stolen my campaign signs. I did not send the deputy to, nor identify her or her family as responsible, and I doubt that the deputy made such an allegation, but it sounds good on Facebook. I asked the investigator, Ellis, who's in charge of this investigation of the theft of the signs, to please forward this information to the Villa Park lieutenant and ask him to review the deputy's video and determine if this is what occurred, and as it is likely that this will be discussed at the council meeting on Tuesday. The response I got from, and the Facebook posting says on Councilwoman Fasanelli's Facebook states that Mayor Collicott had the Orange County Sheriff make a visit to my home a few minutes ago to ask if I stole his campaign signs or was I aware of anyone who had. Now, this was posted on October 1st. So I didn't find out about this Facebook posting that she had made until several days later. But the response I got from Investigator Ellis, who's in charge of the investigation of the theft of my campaign signs, and it was about 40 campaign signs, says, good morning, sir. Thank you for this email and advising me of the situation. I did some research and discovered where Miss Fasinelli lives, and her address was not one of the addresses that the deputy went to during his canvass of the area on the day he took the report. Also, I have not been to that address either during my investigation. And I forwarded your email to my lieutenant to advise him of the situation as requested. I'd like to ask the sheriff representative, I understand that you've looked into this. Did the sheriff department go to Miss Fasinelli's or the Fasinelli home regarding this item?
The Sheriff's Department doesn't have any comment on ongoing investigations. However, I can tell you that the information that was given to you from investigator Ellis about canvassing the area was true. Now, whether or not he actually stopped at Miss Fasinelli's house, I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
Do we have
Okay.
to continue with this back and forth? This is
Well,
really not,
it went forth, so I'm going back.
it's not, this is not solving the problem, and it's not helping.
Yeah, I would like to share Robbie's
Excuse me, I'm
point
going
of
to
view on
send an
this.
email to the city attorney, and please put the email on the record. I'm not going to discuss this issue here. It did come from the lieutenant confirming who came to my home. So I will send it to the city attorney for the record. If anyone would like to see that, they can put a public document request in.
Mr. City Attorney, I would like to reiterate Councilmember Pitts's point of view. This is a point of view that I've maintained publicly, privately. I'm a big fan of talking about accomplishments and what we're doing for our residents, and I think that's where we need to focus things. So let's get back on track to the
Get back to our
business of
agenda.
today.
Well, I mean, I don't control the public forum. Like I said, I don't want people standing up threatening to beat each other up. Then I have to get up and then, or like happened that last meeting, I don't want that. If I get
No.
involved, it usually doesn't end well for me, sadly, so I don't like that. Everything else is fair game, so I invite everybody to police themselves as to what they think is appropriate public discussion. Deanna, if you send it to me, it's privileged. If it's a police report, it's a pending investigation,
That's
it's
the
not a
city
public
manager,
document. So just so people don't start asking me for stuff, I can't give you anything because
Get
of
it
the
from the
attorney.
city manager.
Right, okay. So,
So can we move on
We'll
with
now
the
move on
agenda,
to public
please?
hearings.
well, I would say, because there is time left, we don't require people to submit a card, so if there is anybody else who wants to do public comment,
I just would, just out of abundance of caution, I spoke to Lieutenant this afternoon, and he reiterated that the sheriff did not speak on ongoing investigations. He advised me not to speak on ongoing investigations. So if the councilwoman would like to release something, she's free to do so, but to channel it through the city would probably be inappropriate because it's an ongoing investigation, and neither of our agencies would be the appropriate entity to make a comment or to release any sort of material related to that investigation. Is that?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if there, I would imagine if
She wants to release it, she can.
something, Councilwoman Fasinelli, and you feel like you need to share it with somebody, then you can share it in this forum because it's a personal email to you. I will not comment on anything that the Sheriff's Department is doing as far as our investigation into the alleged crimes.
Well, considering it is an ongoing investigation, and it's an investigation, that Bob Collicott has initiated, and it has nothing to do with me. I will allow Bob to continue to tell his story. If anyone's interested, they can pull the police report, they can do what they want, but I have no more comment on this at all.
Okay. With that, we'll move on to public hearings. The first item is waiving reading in full of all ordinances and resolutions on the agenda.
Item number 2 is the monthly waiving and reading of all ordinances. It's designed to expedite and keep efficient operations of the council meetings. So we'd also recommend review and approval by the council. And if you'll bear with me for a second, Tui is out today, so I'm going to be the voting rep, and I'm not as technically competent.
I'm going to move approval of the item.
Second.
Okay, so
I think you broke our machine.
Mine is blinking. I think
Yeah, you broke our
it.
machine.
no, we should be ready to vote.
Oh, okay.
I'm ahead of myself.
It's definitely not.
Why not? You want to just take a manual vote?
No, it
Steve?
should be voting at this point.
Stop it a minute.
Go ahead and
No,
record
let's
again.
not take a manual vote. We have things to vote. It'll work.
Mine's working now.
I've got 3 votes in.
Sorta.
Huh?
3 votes are in, 4 in. 5 votes in.
It's just blinking.
Still blinking.
Tally, it's 5-0 vote, passes 5.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Okay.
Item number 3 has been continued. The continuance is requested by city staff to allow us to bring it back to the CDC, and that's on November 5th. So this item will be heard November 5th and come back to the city council on November 27th. I believe that the chair of the CDC has issued a letter regarding this, and it's in the feeder. It will continue to run in the feeder for the next couple weeks to allow people to make comment and bring anything they would want to the CDC and subsequently to the city council.
Okay, thank you. Okay, with that, I guess we move on to the consent calendar. All items on the consent calendar are considered routine and are usually enacted by one motion approving the recommended action listed on the agenda. Any member of the city council, staff, or the public may request an item be removed from the consent calendar for discussion or separate action. Council members, are there any items that you would like to remove from the consent calendar? Okay. Hearing none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Please vote.
It should be voting now.
There we go.
Try yours again.
Did it work?
We're all in.
Yeah, it looks like all 5 are in.
Yeah, it passes by a 5-0 vote.
Okay. Now I move on to new business. Our first item of new business is the Catella Avenue Regional Traffic Signal Synchronization Project. Staff, please give the staff report.
Akram, I'll let Akram.
Mr. Mayor, council members, the several public agencies, including Villa Park, they jointly received a grant approval to optimize the traffic signals along Catella and Villa Park. That includes 73 signalized intersection. And OCTA will be doing the lead project and the project manager of that project. Now, within this project, there is 2 signalized intersection in city of Villa Park. It's the Villa Park at the intersection of Center and Lemon, and we requested that the OCTA to install video detection instead of the existing detector loops on the pavement. So we will have a actual video detection, so every time we pave the streets and grind that, we don't have to replace those detectors. Also, since some of the battery backups are very old, we requested that those battery backup system at those 2 intersections to be upgraded with the new ones. And with that, our share comes out approximately $27,000. That means 20% of the work that is being completed within our city. The total project is about $5 million, and all the agencies match. It comes out about plus or minus $1 million. So if you calculate all the work that is being done in the city, it comes out about $135,000 for the upgrade, and our cost will be only $27,000. So with that, I've recommend the approval of the improvements and the agreement, the cooperative agreement with OCTA, which will be signed by all the agencies along that route.
I have one question.
With that, if any questions, would be glad to answer.
You mentioned the videoing, is it video synchronization or video detection, excuse me, I think is the term that you used. Can you discuss that? Is there data captured, license plates, faces? I know that there's some significant concerns within the community about privacy rights. I want to be respectful of that. I personally could care less. I've got cameras in my home, but I want to respect our individual residents' right to privacy. And anytime the word video and or camera and or detection may come out, that's gonna
Yeah.
send an alarm out to some folks. So perhaps you could touch on that.
Yeah, let me clarify. It's not a camera, and there's no data has been collected or anything. Right now, there is, as you see on the pavement, there's some circular or a square cuts. Those are the vehicle detectors.
Thank you.
And when the vehicle goes on top of it, it tells the controller that there are vehicles on that street in order to, in other words, there will be some communication between the detector and the controller, and with that, the time of the green will change in each direction. Now, instead of that, there is what we call the video detection. It's a localized camera, but it will be, mainly to detect the vehicle, the presence of the vehicle on that lane. And at the same time, it will communicate to the controller that the vehicle is there, and that way it is, the timing will be changed accordingly to the demand.
Thank you.
Is there a problem with the existing system?
The existing system is their old system, and plus it's limited. If there is any, it's easily that is cut. It's easily that it's nothing but a cable in the pavement, and those are easily cut. So this way you have to replace them, every few years, or if there is a pavement is done on it, you have, if you grind, those need to be replaced completely, and that comes out approximately. You're talking about another $20,000 to change them for the intersection every time you want to grind and pave. So with that, you're eliminating that. You're getting a more advanced technology with the video detections.
So this would be a cost savings ultimately?
Definitely.
I have one question. You said total project is $5 million. Yet on this agreement you have here is $1 million by the cities. So that's just the city's portion. The other part of it is $4 million is grants?
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay, are there any other questions? Is there anyone here from the public that would like to comment on this item? Okay, hearing none. Do I have a motion, or is there any further discussion?
I'd go ahead and move it.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been a motion and second. Please vote.
Passes by a 5-0 vote.
Very good.
Okay. Item number 9 will be the the monthly information for the city manager report. In addition to this report, I would like to, and I sent you an email earlier this week, I believe, if it's not, it was maybe late last week, received notification that the city was awarded a grant application from Office of Emergency Services for $120,000 for local hazard mitigation plan development. And we'll receive $90,000, our match is $30,000, but it allows us to move forward. It's a significant opportunity to add additional resources and take care of some hazard preparation, if you will, for future issues for Villa Park. Given fires and things that are here, it's a tremendous opportunity for us to sort of get ahead of the curve. I would like to compliment Akram, who identified it and brought it to our attention, did a lot of the work. So I think we're very fortunate, but I wanted to bring that to your attention as well. So we'll be working forward on that project. So that's in addition to the report that's here before you.
Okay, is there anything else, Steve?
That's it from me. I'm here to obviously answer
Thank you.
questions.
We'll now discuss the council member requested item from Councilman Nelson and myself regarding the Americans Supporting Americans Adopt a Unit program. Is there a staff report?
Excuse me, this item was agendized, again, is the request of Councilman Nelson and Mayor Collicott. It is basically working with the group, a nonprofit group, Americans Supporting Americans, to adopt a military unit. The purpose of this group, the purpose of this effort, as it's done by other cities in Orange County, there are about 3 other cities that do this. They basically support those military groups that are either activated or in the process of being activated, and they support families that remain stateside. They send care packages overseas, et cetera. The groups that, the cities that have done this have typically done this in a way where they work with their nonprofits. So, because there does involve some fundraising activities along those lines. So if you can sort of envision the Marine Thanksgiving that we do is a very effective way we support the Marines down at Camp Pendleton. So I would recommend that if the city were to, the council were to approve this, that we do something along those lines and work with the Rotary or the foundation or along those groups, because it would not be appropriate for staff to raise money. But I think it's a worthwhile cause to adopt and support our troops. So the city, obviously, just like we support the Marine Thanksgiving, I don't think we need to be the lead, but I do think it's a good effort for us to be involved in, and I think we should be very supportive of our troops. So I just, that's a summary of what it is. The three cities I want to say are La Habra, Laguna Niguel, and San Juan Capistrano, or San Clemente. San Clemente. And they are basically supporting, they do a number of things, including military ball, meet and greet. They invite them to speak at Rotary clubs. They do, you know, they basically send gifts to or care packages to family at home and the servicemen overseas. So it's a very wide open type of thing, but it sort of depends on the initiative and the resources of that community. So I'll defer to the two council people who put this on the agenda.
Well, yes, I put on that because I believe in supporting the troops. You know, when these troops, when they sign up to give their life for the country if they have to. And I believe we should always support the troops. And that's the reason I brought this forward.
It appears that this is something that we could coordinate with the Marine Thanksgiving, perhaps, maybe adopt the unit down at Camp Pendleton.
I think the Marine Thanksgiving is an independent sort of operation, and I don't know that we'd want to really mess with a good thing.
Okay.
But I think it is something that the Rotary or the Foundation, I have spoken to both the Rotary and the Foundation, and they're very interested in these community service activities. That's what they're founded for, and that's what they really would like to support. So with the blessing of the council, I'd like to be able to help discuss that with them and allow moving forward. But today, it would just be sort of the conceptual, does the city sort of endorse the idea of co-sponsoring, if you will? The other thing I would say is that I think it's very important. We have a very limited staff here, and I don't want staff to be resources to pulled in this year. We have a lot of critical things we're doing. So I do think that the nonprofits will embrace this and move forward with it, and we can have a peripheral role, but I think it is important for the city to also sort of bless this, if you will, and the city council to say, we endorse the activity. So I would recommend that in concept you approve it, but also stipulate that, Steve, you can't use any resources for it.
Is there anyone here from the public that would like to comment on this item? Okay. And do I have a motion, or is there any further discussion?
Well, is this something that needs to be voted on? This is something that nonprofits take care of. I mean, I think it's a great idea, and I think our liaison to the foundation should take it to their meeting, actually. And also, he should take it to the Rotary and say that we have this item the two council people find important and would like to explain it to them and see if they would like to adopt it. When I read, because it sounds like a great program, the things that are done there are normally done by youth groups and so on. So I don't know where the vote is. I would just advocate that our liaison take it to our nonprofits.
I'm happy to do that, put it on the next agenda too.
I would just simply say that the city endorses the Marine Thanksgiving and has done it by formal action of the council. So the only thing here you would do is sort of adopt and say this is a worthwhile supportive activity. It isn't really, it's not a, you're right, it's not a required vote. It's the pleasure of the council, should they want to do this. There's nothing mandatory that needs to be done here. And it is just simply.
The only thing, even though council endorses it, the only thing I would caution you about is they only have so many things that they can support and do as well. So rather than tell them they have to do it, just ask them to take a look at it and review it and see if they can support it. I support this as well. My granddaughter's in the Navy, and she saved someone's life today, which is really, really cool. So I support our military absolutely 100%, and I'm more than happy to take it both to Rotary and to the Foundation as a member of both entities. But I don't think we need to vote on it.
Okay, I think we need to vote on it. I'm going to make a motion that we propose adoption of a military unit be conceptually approved as a pilot program with direction given to staff to develop a proposed implementation plan pending final approval by the City Council. The proposed implementation plan presented to City Council for final approval should include specific details of the program, including city's obligations under ASA program, no use of city funds, and looking at partnering and co-sponsoring opportunities within Villa Park, like the Rotary and the Women's League and the Foundation. And use of city resource and staff is limited.
So just for clarity, you're asking me to go talk to the nonprofits?
Yes. Yeah, to talk to them, to partner and co-sponsor with them. So since we're not going to, I'm saying we're not going to use any city funds, you have to have them to have a program.
But your motion is directing the city to do it and the city staff to do it. So
Yes.
funds are, rather than the council liaison that's been appointed by the council.
Yes, that's correct.
You're asking for the city to use its resources.
I said limited resources.
Just want to make sure.
But that's,
Just a
they will have to
clarification.
use.
The
they will have
city
to-
will be using the resources.
Yes.
Okay.
Do I have a second?
Which I think the city manager said he didn't really want us to do that.
We don't have it.
We don't have it.
Just to clarify, can you clarify, because I think there's a little disagreement here. And
No, I'm listening to, I'm listening to, all that matters is the words on the paper.
Excuse me, there's a question to the city manager.
I want the words that we're voting on. And Bill read them. And it said limited resources, which means we will be using the city resources. We have a liaison who will gladly take it. Why should we spend city funds to have our city manager at $100,000 and some go speak to those two entities when we have a councilman who just said he will do that?
Now, I don't think Robbie would do this because he's not that kind of guy, but it could be politicized. So why not have a phone call, a 5-minute phone call between the head of Rotary and the city manager and the head of the foundation and the city manager, just a brief discussion.
Yeah, I'm
I
not
don't think
running.
Robbie would do
I'm
that.
not running.
And I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's one reason. And anything that supports the military, I'm in favor of, and I behind this and under the very, very limited terms that we're discussing.
Is that a second?
That's a second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I'm going to be voting no on this because this city has a foundation to do exactly what this is about. And that's my reason for voting no on this.
Okay. Okay, please vote.
Councilman Pitts?
I'm just amazed. I continue to be amazed. It's okay. I'm still going to talk to the foundation
Absolutely.
on
Good.
behalf of the city.
I think we all should independently.
Right.
Do you want to vote, Councilman? You're not?
No, I'm not voting.
He's abstaining.
Yeah.
Yeah, there actually is, so
Yes, yes.
hold,
We'll hold the vote.
the
Okay,
vote.
hold the
Take the
vote.
public comment.
Donna Buxton, Dotson Way. It isn't working. Gentlemen, I think it's a great program, but if we have somebody representing the foundation, I really think that it would be the thing that he should be driving. So I don't really see any harm in him taking that for the council. Thank you.
I would like to make one comment. I think that if we don't all vote for this, this shouldn't go forward. Enough's enough. Just saying, guys. If we can't agree upon this, that's really unfortunate. And I agree, Robbie should lead the charge with Steve. Again, I don't think that it could be politicized, but why not have them both
Let's
push it?
stop talking about politicizing, because I'm not going to politicize
I know
this.
you're not. I know you're not.
Let's
I never
just
said
stop.
that. Never said that.
Please. I
Never
can't
said that
wait
you
for
would.
this election to be over with.
Totally agree.
Well, my motion was for the city manager to look at sponsorship and partner with other organizations in the city, not just Villa Park Foundation, but the Rotary and the Villa Park Women's League and any other organization,
That's
maybe
still
even
using
businesses
city
that may want
resources.
to do it. So it's not just the foundation, it includes all the organizations in Villa Park. So that's the reason I think that the city should do it. So it's not just the foundation.
Okay, well, please vote.
You voted,
I don't
unless
think
someone
the
like to
vote's going
change
to
their vote.
change.
Huh?
I don't think the vote's going to change.
Okay.
Okay.
So So now, you're going to use city resources? Okay, just being clear.
This passes by a 3-1 vote with an abstention by Councilman Pitts. That recorded.
And the no vote.
Okay.
Oh, I'm
we now
sorry,
move
and
on to,
Councilman Fasenelli voted no.
individual council member information items. Mayor Pro Tem Rossini.
On September 25th, in conjunction with the Orange County Fire Authority and the Sheriff's Department, I attended and participated in the Fire Safety Wildfire Preparedness Town Hall. It was a Ready, Set, Go program where numerous residents were educated on how they can better prepare themselves in case of a wildfire and to protect the residents and their structures. And just to further emphasize the fact that we're in the middle of fire season on a yearly basis now. It's not just part of the year, it's year round. And we need to take care of our eaves, we need to take care of our brush, we need to take care of our trees, we need to take care of each other. And it was a fantastic program. I want to personally thank Chief Kovacs and Lieutenant Rich for attending and each providing detailed information upon what their role is on in an event of a wildfire. And we may have another one in the future. I just want to thank them very much for that. October 10th, I attended the Candidates Forum, and despite differences, I do want to personally thank each and every candidate that appeared. I want to thank the residents, I want to thank the foundation, and of course our distinguished guest, former Mayor Carolyn Cavechi. I think she did a fantastic job. It was a very informative evening, and I encourage everybody to go out and vote and do their own independent research. That's it.
Thank you. Councilwoman Fasenelli.
I want to remind everyone that this Thursday, we have a flu shot clinic. Starts at 3:30. It's 3:30 to 7. You don't need to live in the city of Villa Park. You can live in the city of Orange, and children are welcome also. We have about 200 shots. I suggest getting here early, and we have 2 nurses who are ready to provide you with those shots. I also attended the Friends of the Villa Park Library event, and I want to especially thank the League of Young Men, the Villa Park chapter, as well as the National Charity League, which is the Villa Park chapter. They could not have put on this event without their assistance. We don't have very many people on the Friends of the Library, and it takes people to cook, clean, and assort things, so I have to thank them. They will also be volunteering along with the high school students and the Honor Society for the Halloween Fest, so you'll be seeing a lot of volunteers at that time. I also was fortunate to be to honor Frank and Eileen DeSantis, who are longtime residents here in the city of Villa Park, in conjunction with Todd Spitzer, our county supervisor. We honored them at the Bowers Museum for their contribution to the county and their contribution to the arts. There's an exhibit at the Bowers Museum. It is called Knights in Armor, and it is put on with the assistance of the DeSantis family, which has done a lot here, and I was honored to give them an award along with the county. And as far as the Villa Park Community Service Foundation, they had a wonderful volunteer event where we honored Kay Rogers, and I have to thank them for the wonderful things they've done for the last year. I look forward to seeing everybody for Halloween Fest.
Thank you. Councilman Pitts.
I too attended Friends of Villa Park Library event. It was quite good. Bob Cannell is a very close friend of mine, and I had the opportunity to read his book early on. Just to, we were sitting down on his sailboat down in the Caribbean, and he started pulling out his notes and sharing it with me, and we talked a lot about it and had fun having chats at night about the book coming out. And we've been part of the encouragement team to push him along to do it, so I'm very proud of him. But it was a great event. We thoroughly enjoyed it. Also want to remind everybody, Saturday night, once again, is our Halloween Fest. Shamim and her team have done an amazing job putting this event together. A lot of volunteer hours are going into this, and encourage everybody in the entire city to come out and see the kids, see the costumes, and have some fun. You'll have some good food, good times, and we'll really enjoy it all together. Coming up is the boat parade and the Santa tour. We're working on that in the foundation. Also, in the Community Services Foundation, we're doing work on the proposed, or trying to pull together the proposed community center. That work continues. We've added some additional committee members to the committee that have construction background and so forth to help guide and direct in our thoughts and our work. So we're excited about that, and soon we'll be talking to folks about donating money to help us out with that cause. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Nelson?
Nothing.
Okay. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn to a regular meeting on November 27th, 2018 at 6:30 PM?
So moved.
Okay. Our meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Okay, I added adjourn to.
Oh, that was, that was